As of this morning, Matt Rhule, formerly of the Baylor Bears and of the Temple Owls, is now the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Congratulations, Matt Rhule.
Matt Rhule is heading into his third year as a head coach for the Carolina Panthers, and I think we can all agree that his tenure in Carolina has not been great. Like, he has struggled a lot as a head coach, but I don't believe that to be all his fault. When I say that, I believe that Matt Rhule was given too much control way too fast, or he was given too much control immediately. He was given all the say in who his assistant coaches were going to be, and I get it. If he's going to be the head coach, you maybe want to let him pick who he's going to work with. But if he's an inexperienced head coach as far as being a head coach in the NFL, as a GM, you might want to have a little more say in who the assistant coaches are going to be, because they just let Matt Rhule pick his friends, pick the guys he worked with from college. And on his staff, he didn't have anybody with head coaching experience in the NFL. Like, you look when the Rams hired McVay. McVay had NFL experience. But you know who his defensive coordinator was? Wade Phillips. Somebody who had head coaching experience. And so, he could go to Wade, ask him questions, be like, yo, what'd you do wrong? What'd you do right? In this scenario, how did you treat it? Like, what did you do? Use him as a sounding board, someone who had NFL head coaching experience. Matt Rhule never had the opportunity because the organization let him just choose the guys he worked with from college. And so I believe in that area, they let him set himself up for failure. Fitterer should have stepped in and hired an assistant coach who had prior NFL head coaching experience, which is what they did this year when they brought in Ben McAdoo. Now, say what you want about Ben McAdoo's head coaching career with the Giants. He has proven himself to be a decent to good coordinator, and he has head coaching experience. So now Matt Rhule can go to McAdoo and ask the questions, in these situations, what did you do? How did you treat the situation with the team? Did X, Y, or Z? He has someone he can at least go to and ask these questions. Even though, Ben McAdoo failed as a head coach, there is a lot of valuable experience in failing at something. And McAdoo has that valuable experience. And so he is super valuable on Matt Rhule's staff now, even though he wasn't that successful as a head coach himself. So I believe Matt Rhule may have a better year this year because he seems to have had less control over who his staff is going to be, or his staff, who they hired as assistant coaches. Also, he's going to have a better quarterback this year. Whether it's Matt Corral starting or Baker Mayfield starting, I think he's going to have a better quarterback because Sam Darnold is just hot garbage. But with that, I think Matt Rhule has a decent chance this year of saving his job. I don't expect the Panthers to win more than 7 games, but I do believe they're going to be a very competitive team in a lot of these games. And I think even if he loses, 10 games this year, if he's competitive week in and week out, and he shows that the team has promise, the team shows, has potential for the future, and maybe Baker or Matt Corral comes out here and show that they can be the quarterback of the future, I think that will be enough to at least keep Matt Rhule around for another year. Now, do I believe in Matt Rhule long term? I'm not sure yet. I was very high on Matt Rhule when they first hired him. I like the idea of getting the guy from college who had built multiple teams up from the ground and had proven himself to be a good team builder and bringing him to the NFL. He's a fresh face, fresh ideas. But he hasn't really ingratiated much, faith from me over these first few seasons. But again, the team was bereft of talent when he came here. So I do believe we should give him a few more years, see what he can do. Although I'm not going to pretend like over these past couple of years, I wasn't on a few occasions like, fire everyone, Matt Rhule included. This guy's terrible. But once I take a step back and really assess what he was given to work with, it's not all his fault. The team was not set up for success. The way they kept around Marty Herney for another year or so, and Matt Rhule was stuck with him, some of the moves the Panthers made just didn't make sense. So I'm okay giving Matt Rhule this season, and if the team is competitive, another season to prove that he is able to stick around in the NFL and maybe be a good head coach. But if this team goes out there and goes 3-14 or 4-13, fire that dude. Get that dude up out of here. Get us a head coach who can win some games. Or if he decides that we should start Sam Darnold, they should fire him before the first game of the season. David Tepper has proven himself to make rash decisions. I fully believe that David Tepper should fire Matt Rhule before the first game of the season. If Matt Rhule comes out here and is like, Sam Darnold is our starting quarterback, because we know how that will end. if this dude believes in Sam Darnold so much, get him up out of here because he obviously cannot evaluate talent. That's all I have for you on this one, guys. If you enjoyed this video, go hit that thumbs up. And if you were so inclined, smash that subscribe button while you're down there. And I'll see you guys in the next one.